Just 4 minutes.
Oh.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining from. Good evening. We have people all across the United States, and we have one of our special guests is joining from Israel. So really, really grateful that everybody could be with us today, and really grateful that you are celebrating our 30th anniversary at Kavod and supporting the work that we're doing. And when we first planned this, we certainly didn't anticipate that we'd be in the moment that we're in right now. And actually on Thursday of this week, I'm flying to Israel, and one thing that I will have with me is the Kavod checkbook. And we'll be distributing funds to some of our tzedakah heroes in Israel, and also providing some direct assistance. As you would imagine, we have been informed of some families that need emergency support. And while eventually we hope that there will be all sorts of mechanisms to help those folks, it takes a while for some of those things to start up. So we're going to be doing some emergency distributions while I'm there. And if you'd like to support any of that work, you can just go to kavod.org and make a donation online. You can donate by check to our address in Omaha, or through a donor advised fund, any of those ways. We're really, really grateful, everybody, for being with us, and really, really grateful to our special guests today who are going to be sharing some words of Torah. So I'm going to invite Rabbi Gold to introduce our first teacher. Neil, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Yoshi. I'll do this really quickly, and then we're going to talk some more after his Devar Torah. But I got to tell you that Rabbi Edgar Nof is one of my favorite mitzvah heroes, as well as a really treasured friend and a teacher. Rabbi Nof is based in Haifa, where he is the founder of Geshrim Letikvah, Bridges for Hope, which does this whole world of mitzvah projects with people living on the edge and in the periphery of Israeli life, from children in impoverished schools, elders, Holocaust survivors, people on the periphery like Russian and Ethiopian immigrants, and of course, victims of terror. I got home, and Rabbi Nof, it's also very important to say that he's the rabbi of the Progressive Synagogue in Netanya. There's so much more I want to say about him, but I'm going to put it aside. What I really want you to know about Rabbi Nof is that it's 7:04 in the evening in Israel right now, and he's coming to us after having spent the day officiating at the funeral of a family of 4 that was massacred at Kibbutz Be'eri. And I don't know how you do that, Edgar, and I don't know how you do that and then come and get on the Zoom screen to teach all of us Torah. But we are really, really grateful for your presence here today. We're grateful for the longstanding partnership that we've had with you and your Tikkun Olam organization. It's really a privilege to support you in your work. And we'll say a lot more as you and I have a dialogue in a few minutes. But first and foremost, we want to say we are really aware of what you've been through today. We're grateful to have you here with us on our Zoom screens. And it's a real privilege to invite you to teach us Torah. So I turn it over to you. Rabbi Edgar Nof from Haifa, everybody.
Thank you very much, Neil and Yoshi and all of the friends. I do want to dedicate this very short Torah study of about 10 minutes to 4 people who were murdered by the Hamas terrorists. They actually were presumed to be disappeared, and a week ago they found those 2 parents, Oron and Yasmin Bira, and they have 3 children, one 22 years old, one 18, and one 15. The oldest and the youngest, there were 2 girls. They were also massacred and raped and mutilated and abandoned outside of the kibbutz. They just found them 3 days ago, and since the kibbutz There's a kibbutz of about 1,000 people in Be'eri. 150 were killed. There is not enough room in the cemetery and in the kibbutz, and also it's dangerous. It still is a war zone. So they are doing provisional and burials outside in the middle of the country. So one of the Moshavim, Moshav Chobla, was kind enough to given the land to bury the fort today. So I am giving my Torah on loving memory of Yasmin, Oron, Tair, and Tael Bira. I don't know, maybe you know, but my doctorate is in biblical studies, and I brought a Talmudic text today, which is very courageous of me. If you don't understand my English, it's because my accent is too British. But I hope that with the 10 minutes, you're going to be able to understand me. The Talmud asks a very important question, and it's can you confront an evil person? Now it sounds trivial, right? You have to. Somebody is weak, and you have to fight, but it's not so simple. I think even on October 7th, our Israel is 9/11. It's not so simple to confront 1,000 terrorists that they're shooting at you. Maybe it's better to go inside of the shelter and close the door and wait for help. So how you confront, or when you can confront. So I want to say something about the Torah. The Torah also says when you have a confrontation, if you remember in the book of Dvarim, there is the Parashat Kitavo, Kitavo, leilachem alea vekarat alea leshalom. When you go into a city, says the Torah, first you have to say shalom. Now, for us, shalom is peace, this harmonic thing, but the concept of shalom, as we understand it today, has nothing to do with the shalom. It's connected somehow with the shalom in the Bible, but it's different. When the Bible say that you say to a city, you call it for peace, it means you give it a chance to surrender, and if it doesn't surrender, so you conquer. So I didn't have a biblical case for what I wanted to say today, and it's how you can confront anti-Semitism, how you can confront the people that post things in the internet, the people that come and attack you. So the Talmud somehow start taking the thing. Can you put the text now? Neil? I just want to read the beginning. The beginning is like this. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi. I'm going to read the English translation too. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Yochanan ben Yochai Mutar leitgarot. This is the verb. Leitgarot is from tigra, confrontation. ברשעים בעולם הזה שנאמר עוזבי תורה יעללו רשע ושומרי תורה יתגרו בם. Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, one is permitted to confront the wicked in the world. Why? Because there is a verse in the book of Proverbs, by the way, it's not on the Torah. They didn't find the sages in the Talmud, nothing in the Torah, so they go to nothing even from the prophets. So they go to the book of Proverbs. Those who abandon the Torah will praise wickedness, and the keepers of the Torah will fight them. This is the reason why, according to Rabbi Yochanan, in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, you should confront the wicked people in this world. Now, the state, it continues. I'm not going to read everything. I just want to go to number 8. Can we go to the end? Now, this is the conclusion. You can have the text and read it. But the conclusion is like this. And if you wish, if you wish, say as a conclusion of this, there is like 8 paragraphs. If you wish, say, in general, the wicked cannot follow the righteous, but when the hour is smiling upon him, sha'a mesacheket lo, when the hour is in his favor, it is different. Because one explanation, when the wicked are enjoying good fortune, even the righteous can be harmed. It's very interesting for you if you want to read everything, all of the reasons they give, when to confront or not to confront. We have to understand that our sages lived after the rebellion of Bar Kokhba, and they saw that the confrontation with Roma, that's the wickedness, was a disaster for the Jewish people. I don't need the text anymore. So that was a disaster for the Jewish people. We lose our land, we lose our independence. You can confront an evildoer only when the time is appropriated, not any time. Only when it's the proper time, when you're not going to be definitely doomed by the evildoers. The question that the Talmud doesn't, they give all kind of things. Maybe if you're a righteous person, you can confront. Maybe if you're the son of a righteous, they bring a lot of examples. But what the Talmud doesn't say, and even the Torah doesn't say, is how you fight evildoers. How are you fighting with weapons? You fighting with writings? You fight them with posts in the internet. You fight them in a demonstration. How we confront the wicked people? It's not only an army against an army or fighting with terrorists. There is we suffering now a lot of hate from all the Arab world. But you in America are suffering from anti-Semitism, an increase on anti-Semitism like there was never before. Never was so much anti-Semitism in the US like there is in the recent years. This is not something that happened only to Israel. It's somehow we are one people and we are connected. We are suffering from terrorism. You're suffering from anti-Semitism. And they just want to, I don't know why they hate us so much. Don't know what we did. The gefilte fish is not the tastiest in the world, but it's not enough for all of this hate. I want to suggest that one of the ways to confront the wickedness is to do tikkun olam. I think that doing tzedakah and fighting for tzedek, good deeds. This is one way of confronting the wickedness. And I'm not only an idealist, I'm very pragmatist. I'm going to give an example of what Bridges for Hope does, but before that, I want to say thank you because I don't want to forget my main point. Neil asked me, Rabbi Neil Gold asked me, how come I have the strength of coming after the funeral of 2.5 hours to do a meeting with you? And the truth is, I wanted to do this a long time ago. With the help of Kavod, we are helping so many people that I'm talking about the most basic, to have food in the refrigerator to eat. Now, if you come, when you come to Israel, you can come and see these neighbors. Every year, the state of Israel have 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 people coming, making Aliyah. Now, what is making Aliyah? We're thinking, it's like a young man from America decided to come to the homeland. No, 90% or 95% of these people, they come with nothing. They come from Ukraine with nothing. They come with a suitcase. They come from South America with nothing. They come from Ethiopia with nothing. not education, no resources, no nothing. And you have to live in the Israeli society that is modern and progressive, and it is very hard. Now, the schools that we help, and we every year, our budget between 5 to 8% comes from Kavod. So 5 or 8% of the things that we do is because of you helping Kavod. If you go to a school and you didn't eat nothing the whole weekend, and you're sitting down and your parents didn't bring you a sandwich, it is very hard to study. You can concentrate on studying because you're hungry. If you don't study, so you become more marginal, and then eventually you go into the street, and then you go and steal, and then you do all kinds of things that I don't want to even talk now, and just in order to get money because you have to survive somehow. And these people, after having many files at the age of 13 or 14 in the police, the army don't want to take them, and then they don't want to, they cannot have a job. And the Jewish population is losing a lot of people that can be positive. If these children have a decent meal and they don't suffer from malnutrition and go to the school, they can change not only themselves, also their families. And with this, they can go to the army and be a soldier that eventually can defend the state of Israel. So it is not only that we're doing the good thing because we have to do the good thing, it also has an impact on the Jewish state, on the survival of the Jewish people.
Edgar,
So,
let me interject
yes.
for 1 second. What you just said is so beautiful and so spot on. That's exactly what the work of Kavod is. That I mean, to remind everyone that Kavod means human dignity and integrity, and you give that back to somebody who's at risk of losing it. The ripple effects of that are unspeakable. Who knows what that could become in the future, and how that that idea that goodness and kindness and compassion is like a pebble thrown into the middle of a pond, that the ripple effects spread out far beyond what you can imagine. I also want to explain to everybody on the screen a little bit what's going on here, that we invited Rabbi Nof to give the Devar Torah just for a couple minutes at the beginning of the program today. And then we realized earlier this week that we had to reshuffle the deck a little bit, that we had to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about your work at this horrific time in Israel's life. We also have part 2 of the program today. And so even though I know you could and probably should be able to fill our entire hour, I just want to ask you one question, and then we're going to move on to Jay and Beth. And that is, tell us what Bridges for Hope, your organization, what are your priorities right now in real time, and what are you guys doing? And by the way, I'll point out that our friend Jesse Lachter, who comes to a lot of our programs, is on the screen also. Jesse's in Haifa, and Jesse is the president of the board of Bridges for Hope. And Jesse, we're so glad you're with us too, and we hope you and your family are safe and well. Edgar, just tell us about your highest priorities in the organization right now, and then and then
yes, indeed,
really we only have
indeed,
another
I want
minute
to
or
praise
two.
also Professor Jesse Lachter, who is an inspiration for us. But I just going to numbers. I am frozen or not?
We can hear you, but the screen is a little frozen.
Seems to me like I'm frozen.
But we can hear you. Uh-oh. Now we can't hear you.
Maybe Jesse could share a word.
Jesse, you there? Yay.
Okay, a pleasure. And thank you, Karen Kavod, as Edgar said, in the name of all of Bridges for Hope and in all of Israel, for your helping and maintain and restore some kavod here in Israel. It's very hard to keep your dignity and self-respect when things like the recent things have gone on. Neil asked for most recent priorities. while we are continuing to support a growing group of Holocaust survivors, mostly from Ukraine and Russia, and about 30-some families of impoverished who have children who get to school hungry with food supply cards. This week, we're also making a special trip to Tivon, just outside Haifa, to someone we collaborated with for various peace marches and interfaith marches here in Israel, trying to build peace together, who unfortunately she moved some years ago to Otef Aza near Gaza City and was locked in her house for 20 hours as terrorists walked around the building and into the building, and has suffered considerable loss, and we're able to make a contribution to her. And obviously no small group can build all of these kibbutzim and build national resilience by itself, but we and everyone we can, my family, your families, yourselves, ourselves, together we can all have the great satisfaction and fulfillment in being part of the solution to end this violence and to get a sense of security and continue with our tikkun olam. So I think that might answer your question. Edgar would have told you we're going Tuesday morning to this woman's home, not home. She's a displaced person for now, but she's going to have to rebuild her home in the south or wherever she chooses to build it, and of course suffered a huge economic blow. So we're going to be part of the solution for that. And those are our top priorities right now, is continuing to maintain resilience, and community is very important, including continuing community with our friends in America who have been supportive all along, including your blogs, Neil, and your Torah teaching, Neil, including to our group when you were here. So thank you so much again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add one last sentence. If every month we are be able to help 150 children to have a decent meal and not suffer from malnutrition, in great part is because of Kavod. So I want to thank you, and I want you to know that with your help, we are trying to do the same that you believe here in Israel. I think we are definitely in the same boat, definitely the same page, and it was very important for me to say this to you and to the people that is listening to us now.
Thanks, Rabbi. The work you guys are doing, you and Jesse, is just so important, and we're really grateful. And we're grateful to be your partners, to tell you the truth. To everybody in the group, we will, in the follow-up to this, we'll tell you how you can continue to stay in touch and see what Bridges for Hope is doing.
Terrific. Thank you. And it's not just Edgar and me. We've got a whole group of people. I think you've met some of them, and everyone is doing what they can.
For sure. Now, Yosh, I'm going to segue to the second half of our program, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So Neil's gonna set us up with Jay and Beth.
So listen, there's no smooth segue to do this. Instead, except to just say, to invite everybody to take a deep breath, and we're going to go to part 2 of this program. One of the things that Rabbi Nof said in his Devar Torah is the antidote to the cruelties and brutality of the world is to be the opposite, is to be involved in goodness, kindness, compassion, tikkun olam, the Jewish term for world repair. And that's the only segue that I can come up with, to go to the second half of our program, because we're going to meet one of our mitzvah heroes who is also doing extraordinary, life-changing, essential work. My friend Rabbi Jay Moses is going to conduct this conversation with Dr. Beth Weinstock of BirdieLight. So I'm going to turn over to Jay. Jay is a member of the Kavod board. He's the vice president of the Wexner Foundation, whose staff he joined in 2003. He's also a very dear friend, one of the first people I met when we joined the illustrious class of Hebrew Union College in Israel in 1992. And he is also, when I met him, he just became an instant friend, I was drawn in by his intelligence, his warmth, his menschlichkeit, and his Semitic good looks. And when Jay a year or two ago said to me, I have a mitzvah project for Kavod. You have to meet Dr. Beth Weinstock and you have to know about BirdieLight. This should be a Kavod project. Instantly, first of all, from Jay's endorsement, the answer was yes, of course. And then the more we learned, the more we realized that this is one of the most profound Kavod projects, doing the work of building essential human dignity and saving lives in real time. With that, I'm not going to over-introduce Beth because her story is sort of part of what we're going to talk about today. I'll turn it over to Jay Moses and Beth Weinstock to take us into the second half of the morning. And welcome, you guys. It's an honor for both of you, for us to have both of you here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Neil and Yoshi and everybody for being here this morning. Kavod, being involved with Kavod has really been one of the highlights of my adult life. It's one of the corners of my life that just gives me hope for the world in dark times. So I'm really, really grateful to be part of the team, and especially grateful that you invited Beth and me to have a conversation to share her incredible work. Beth is my neighbor and friend. She and her family are members of Temple Israel here in Columbus, where my wife is the cantor. My wife has officiated at the B'nai Mitzvah of Beth's children. There were lots of interconnections even before the story of BirdieLight came along. But Beth, maybe you can start off by telling us a little bit about your son Eli and who he was and the light that he brought to the world.
Absolutely, Jay. I love to talk about Eli, one of my favorite things to do. I first want to thank everyone, particularly Kavod, for making us, one of your mitzvah projects, which was such an honor. And I'm really happy to be here today to speak with you. My son Eli is the second oldest of my 4 children. He was the most creative person I've ever known. Eli was a filmmaker, and most of his films involved his siblings as castmates, and he mostly directed sort of ripoffs of Quentin Tarantino films in our backyard. Eli rode Pelotonia with me one year, which is a 100-mile bike ride to raise money for cancer research. He went to summer camp in Wisconsin. He loved to cook. He loved Grater's ice cream milkshakes. He had the biggest heart and was the most emotionally sensitive of my children, which sometimes, of course, can be a burden. Eli went to Bexley High School here in Columbus, and he graduated in 2019. He then attended American University in Washington, D.C., and on March 3rd of 2021, when he was a sophomore, Eli sometimes I just need a second. Eli took a pill just because he was going out with his friends, and he died. Sorry, I wasn't expecting this.
Okay,
He died from an accidental fentanyl ingestion. He took a tablet that he thought was something else, and it was adulterated or laced with fentanyl. And as that devastation played out for my family, my community, we struggled to pick up the pieces, of course. But Eli, we could still feel his presence with us, his strong spirit. And we, 6 months later, launched BirdieLight, which is an educational initiative, national educational initiative that is led by myself and my team to really just do a very simple thing, is to get in front of young people, age 14 to 25, and educate them on the dangers of fentanyl because I can get into the details of this, but what I've learned across our country is that really nobody is getting this education in high school or college. And our initial goal was to change that for everyone, to make this a common conversation that happens in high schools, so that it becomes so commonplace that kids learn about fentanyl and drug adulteration in the same way that they learn about drunk driving, sexual health, seatbelts, sunscreen, that we don't stigmatize this topic anymore and make it so commonplace that, like with drunk driving, it almost becomes a peer effort to keep everyone safe. That's our goal. And so we have been in existence since 2021, fall of 2021. We're at our 2-year anniversary. Nothing like the 30-year anniversary, but hopefully we'll get there too. And we have educated to this point nearly 40,000 students, in addition to parents, healthcare workers, school administrations, and public health departments. I'll just pause there because I might have bled over a little into our next question.
That's okay, Beth. First of all, thank you so much for sharing Eli's story. And you're among friends here with whom you never have to apologize for taking a moment and for letting the profound emotions that, of course, are still around that situation, let those emotions flow, because they're very real. At Kavod, we highlight organizations and individuals who do the extraordinary, with a message as well for all of us who think of ourselves as ordinary. Maybe you could give us a little bit of insight as to how it was that you and Olivia, your daughter, how you found the strength and the courage and the vision and the determination amidst your loss and your devastation, how you were able to transform all of that into the drive and the focus to create BirdieLight. You were in a situation where, so many of us feel like we wouldn't know what to do or how to do anything other than get through each day. And you turn that sense of loss into this incredible effort to help other people. So tell us just a little bit about how you did that.
Well, on the most simple level, just getting through every day after 6 months starts to feel very restless. Not a lot of direction in just getting through every day, although that was still happening, of course. But one of the things at a very basic level was that we couldn't help but think that if Eli had a focused education on what fentanyl is and where it's found and how to test for it, that would have been his best chance for survival. And we realized at that point that really no one was in the very small space of educating high school and college students about this chance for survival. When you look at the numbers of young people who either experiment with substances or use substances on a regular basis, and then match that up with the very small level of education they ever get about drug adulteration, it almost seems like at that time that kids had no chance, that there would be no chance for survival, particularly with fentanyl penetrating the drug landscape so much. And so we thought, that's something we can do. We can tell Eli's story, and I'm a physician, so then I can tell them what fentanyl is and what it does to the body. And then I can also tell them about these very effective tools that can keep you alive. For example, the fentanyl testing strip, which allows a young person to test a substance before they use it, or naloxone or Narcan that can reverse a fentanyl overdose in real time. And 2 years ago, a lot of kids didn't even know that existed. And we've made great headway in making that such a common thing that now lots of students, even on campuses, just carry that tool with them in their backpacks. So what we found was just a very small section of prevention efforts across the healthcare spectrum. And we realized we can fill that niche. We can talk to young people and meet them where they are and say, we know some of you may never take a pill or powder, and we know some of you might have already done that, but we need all of you to know about this danger. And so you know what you're up against. And anecdotally, and also with our data collection, we found that we are making a big difference.
Tell us a little bit more then, Beth, about what you've accomplished so far. You've been in existence, I think you said about a year and a half, two years, and and tell us what the scope is of sort of who you've reached and how you've leveraged the resources that you've been able to raise to make the greatest impact.
Absolutely. On its very, at the starting point, we really thought we would talk just to high schools and colleges, and mostly we just started doing that. Not a very expensive endeavor in the beginning, just because, you know, it doesn't cost a lot to go to a high school in Ohio and do an event. But what we found quickly is that we can't be everywhere, and we have a team of 3. And so we thought, how do we expand our reach? How do we get to places that we can't go to? And so one of our big initiatives in the last 12 months, and additionally what Kavod support has helped us do, is we have launched the Birdie Box curriculum, which is a digital curriculum as well as a physical curriculum that allows a teacher anywhere, a health teacher or an administrator, to teach very almost verbatim based on the curriculum I created, can teach about the fentanyl risk in any part of the country. They can condense it into one day of lessons, or they can spread it out over 4 days. But it's educator and administrator approved, and we are really launching this in a big way this year. So far since March, we've had from University of Southern California, they've ordered 90 boxes. We had Ohio State Extension order 18 of these to spread across rural high schools in Ohio. And then we've gotten individual orders from all over the country. So this is an initiative that has allowed us to be in many places at once, to build our brand, and also to make it clear that we want to be the leading educator in this field. We want to be the one place people turn to for fentanyl education. And even if we can't get there to be with them, they're going to feel confident teaching it.
Now, when we were talking about your work, when you first sort of introduced it to me, and I told you about Kavod and said we wanted to support it, you told me about some obstacles that you've run into, and maybe I was naive, but I was a little shocked to learn that there were schools that were not wanting to let you in to give your message or to engage with you. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about what some of those obstacles have been, and maybe how you've overcome them, or how we can help you overcome them.
Sure. Thankfully, some of the obstacles are getting a little smaller. 2 years ago, the fentanyl conversation scared a lot of people. There's a lot of stigma in this country centered around opioids, both when it comes to opioid use disorder, but also as all parents think, like, that's really scary. That's not happening in my school or my community, and I don't think I want my kid to learn about that. We ran into that quite a bit. But then at another high school, maybe just like one zip code over, they were so adamant, our kids need to learn about this. We're going to get all 4 high school grades in an auditorium, and please, you know, go at it. But what that told me is that there's disparity there. Here's a high school down the road that gets no education, and here's this high school that gets every bit of it, and that's just dependent on a principal or a superintendent. So what we've tried to do is hone our strategy and make it very clear when we sort of market ourselves to districts that we have enough track record now that we can say, well, your districts on either side of you have already done this education, so you're really, you know, denying your kids very important education, and we're having more success now. But then with the parents, as people know, here in the United States, school board meetings are very contentious right now. There's a lot of alarm about things that teachers are teaching, books being banned. certain historical things that they want to cover up or not talk about. And so it has been a contentious time to bring in an outsider like me that says, I want to bring up a whole new topic that's really scary to your parents, and we want everyone to be on board. So it's an uphill battle. One thing that Kavod could do to help is on a very simple level, make introductions for us to your local high schools, administrators, public health officials, and to tell them, we know this organization that has a track record of success, and we'd love to bring them to our community, or speak to them of the Birdie Box curriculum.
Is there still concern as well, Beth, about some people thinking that by teaching high school students about, say, the availability of test strips, that we're somehow encouraging drug use? Is that also still a narrative out there that you're coming up against?
I wish it weren't the case, but I do hear comments like that. And interestingly, from kids themselves, I do a survey at the end of my presentation, and some high school kids, it's the minority, but some high school kids will say in their teenager way, didn't you just teach me how to do drugs? And it's very clear in my presentation that no one in this poison landscape should be taking a pill or powder. I repeat that multiple times when I talk to young people. It's just not the time to experiment. And so again, I want kids to know things. I want them to know how to keep themselves and their peers safe. And I tell them very clearly, you may be a person in your lifetime who never takes a pill or a powder, but you also may be a person who saves someone's life. And that resonates with them. That resonates because kids understand what's happening at parties and college get-togethers, and they may never experiment with it, but they know it's there. And so that resonates with them.
As we know, there's no higher mitzvah in the Jewish tradition than saving a life. So it's amazing that you are not only doing that yourself, but empowering young people to feel like, with their knowledge and education and tools that BirdieLight is giving them, that they can be part of that incredibly profound mitzvah. Just one more question, and then we can open it up for a little conversation to the group if we want to. Tell us about kind of the future, your goals, your visions. I know you said once, of course, that your goal is to have your organization not be needed anymore at one point. But what's on the horizon for you, and especially, are you hoping that schools and communities and school boards will take some of this work over, so it doesn't all fall to BirdieLight in the meantime? So tell us what lies ahead.
Well, that's our big dream, our big goal, which I may or may not have a great deal of control over. But right now, 4 states here in the U.S. have just recently voted to mandate fentanyl education in their high schools. There was already opioid mandates, but sometimes a health teacher would just touch on what is an opioid and don't take pills out of your grandparents' medicine cabinet, which really isn't the realistic threat right now. So mandating fentanyl-focused education is going to change and save lives in those 4 states that have done it. But my goal, with what power I have, is to keep working hard in the next year on that mandate in all the states, and also, meeting with those legislators and how did you do it in your state. And so that's our big dream this year, which involves travel and time. But and just spinning off of that is the travel and time is something that I, as the CEO, executive director, would be passionate about doing. But in order for me to do that, our goal just in the next 12 months is to hire a development coordinator, outreach coordinator, who both can work on fundraising for us, as well as marketing, public relations centered around the Birdie Box curriculum. So expanding our team, and also working state to state to try to get this education mandated. And then ideally, if that were to happen, say in Ohio, I would like to be in on the ground up about what that curriculum would look like and how we would get it to each school in a manner that fits their demographic.
Great. that might be another way that we all can help, by the way, to encourage our states to in our boards of education to take this mandate seriously. Our dear friend Heidi Gold asks, which are the 4 states that are implementing this, and is it in legislation or other language?
So Oregon has passed it. Illinois has been introduced. I don't think they've had a vote on it yet. Maybe I'm trying to remember on the spot. Texas and either California or Mississippi. Both of them are having conversations about it, but it's one of those 2. So
a bit of leverage with our state legislatures. Is this something we can work on too?
I absolutely. I think that for my starting efforts here in Ohio, I have communicated a lot by either phone or email and tried to sort of get this momentum going. And I haven't been that successful yet as we come up toward an election here. But yes, absolutely. That is a conversation that I think anyone could have with their representatives and even introduce the topic. I bet a lot of our legislators, at least in Ohio, don't have any idea that 4 states have already done this. And would be like, oh, that might be something to think about. It'd be maybe a surprise to them.
Somebody asked privately as well, the one thing we skipped over in talking about the creation of BirdieLight was the significance of the name BirdieLight. Maybe you can share that with us.
Oh, that's my favorite story. Perhaps you could show that slide again.
Sure.
The last one, I think. So when Eli was in middle school, he and his buddies called themselves the Birdies. We never really knew why that happened, but it was just a group of 7th, 8th grade boys who were friends all through high school, and they and the name stuck. And at his memorial service, which we had here in our backyard with lots and lots of people and tables set up with blank notes on them so people could write things, a lot of those young men wrote things like, "We miss you, Birdie. We love you, Birdie." And so when Olivia, my daughter, and I were naming our organization, I said, let's use that. It's sort of quirky like Eli. And I said, let's use a bird as our logo, like the canary in the coal mine that goes down to check for oxygen, sort of like the fentanyl test strip, or even this education leads the way with the light. And so I wrote out BirdieLight on a paper in my kitchen. And after the fact, I looked at it and I said, oh, wow, Eli, E-L-I, is right in the middle of it. And we didn't plan that. And that was a sign to me of something bigger at work. And I think, of course, we'll never change our name, even though people really don't always understand it. But, who understands Uber or Yelp? We just get used to it. So that's our name story.
Well, Beth, your work makes Eli's memory a blessing in ways that are beyond words that we could even conceive of here. There's nothing more profound than to turn your loss and into something that helps others in such incredibly important ways, and really, sees to it that that the loss of one life will lead to the saving of so many others. There's very few ways to redeem a tragedy like like a life cut way too short. But we're really inspired by the way you've done that. So thank you really for all that you do. We may have time for some other questions if anybody else wants to jump in, or Yoshi, Neil, what do you think?
Anybody else?
Please visit our website. I was going to add, please visit our website, because there's so many other details about what we do that you might find interesting, and we probably don't have time to go through everything today. So our website has a lot of information on it.
I just added that to the chat so you can click on it and learn more about the organization. We're so grateful to you, Beth, and Jay. Thank you so much. Over the years at Kavod, Jay's brought many, many wonderful, wonderful organizations to us. And it's one of the things that we love about the community that we built, is that we start to understand what it is that we're searching for. And it always begins with that leader, that mitzvah hero who shows us the way and helps us see something in a new fashion, helps us imagine a solution that sometimes to a problem that we weren't aware of, but often a solution that no one's come up with, no one's thought about. And they always do it in a way that brings a lot of heart, in a way that's efficient and effective, so that a small tzedakah collective like ours can really make a difference. If people have any more questions for Beth or Edgar, you can put it in the chat. Otherwise, we're going to start wrapping things up. Next week will be the last of this series. And maybe, Neil, you could give us a little preview of some of the things that we're going to see next week. And I want to remind you, if you came in on the later side today, just that I will be going to Israel on Thursday, arriving Friday of this week, and we'll try to join you all. My plan is to join you all on Sunday from Israel, and I'll be bringing the Kavod checkbook and making donations there. So if you have interest in specifically supporting those efforts, please make the donation before Friday, so I'll know that that I have those funds to distribute, and I'll coordinate with Neil and make sure that we're doing everything we can in the near term to provide support for folks like Rabbi Nof and many of our other beneficiaries. So Neil, any closing comments for today, or a little bit of a preview for next week, our last session?
First of all, this was a really intense hour, obviously enough. And to go back to what we said at the beginning, in times when the world seems really bleak and really dark, the place where I find inspiration is knowing that there's people like Beth, like Edgar, like Jesse in the world, like people like my colleagues on the Kavod board. And frankly, that there's people who are tzedakah doers, people who are like the supporters of stuff like Kavod. Tzedakah, the work of tzedakah is bringing light into the world when the world can feel pretty dark. So despite the intensity of this past hour, I'm also feeling a bit invigorated by what we've been doing here. Next week, it's very exciting, Yoshi, that you're going to be coming to us from Israel next week, and you have all of our gratitude and our wishes and our blessings for a successful trip and also a safe trip as our shaliach, as our mitzvah emissary when you go to Israel. We're also going to talk next week, in addition to studying some Torah together, we're gonna talk a bit about some of Kavod's work in Ukraine in the past year, in particular with Jonathan Ornstein from JCC Krakow. So I hope everyone will be able to join us for that as well. And then, as sort of a summing up of everything we've done last week, this week, and next week, it's really a great privilege and honor for us to learn Torah next week with Rabbi David Ellenson, who is one of the great scholars and great Torah teachers of our generation. He's the past president of Hebrew Union College and an unbelievable mensch, and proud to say a member of Kavod's board as well. So that's what we have to look forward to next week. In the meantime, everybody has my gratitude for being here today. We hope you can join us next week as well. Follow-ups, links to all the organizations that we talked about today, as well as the recording of this session, we'll send out in an email in just a short while from now. Thanks a lot, everybody. Gratitude for being here. Yoshi, say lahitro to everybody.
Thanks, everybody. And really, really excited to continue our learning next week. Echo all the gratitude to Beth and Jay, Edgar, and Jesse, and to everybody for joining. And any friends who want to join us for the third session, even if they weren't at the first two, no problem. Would love to have them. See you next week, everybody. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.